back once again defending another player. In the early parts of my YouTube channel, I had defended plenty of players. Specifically, one of the more popular videos I had made was a Lamar Jackson video basically explaining, saying, hey, I still believe this dude's top 10. And I still stand by many of the points I made in that video. I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate the same points that I made because I'm here to talk about a different skill position player. And it's the running back position. Specifically, a guy on one of the most popular teams in the entire NFL. One of the most polarizing running backs of the past decade, I would say. And his name's not Le'Veon Bell. His name's not Saquon Barkley. It's not Christian McCaffrey. And I'm sitting here talking about this mainly because of a recent podcast episode that I was on. I got into a heated argument about Ezekiel Elliot. I still think Zeke is a borderline. I would probably put him in the top 10 running back. And here's the thing. I was getting arguments back and forth saying that he's not even top 15, not top 20. His backup's better than him. I think we've overcorrected ourselves when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott. And that might be the title of the video, but I still feel that we have overdone it. Where it's the same thing I would say with Russell Westbrook. We have gone from he was a little bit overhyped or potentially did not reach the potential that we had wanted him to reach. And then we go all the way to the other side. And I feel that Tony Pollard is a fantastic running back. And I'll talk about Tony Pollard in more detail later. But I think that we have gone so far against Zeke because he's being overpaid. And listen, you could say that I'm wrong in this fact, but there is a small group of NFL fans that I guess have blurred the lines between fantasy and actual good on the football field. I'm not saying that you can't be good at fantasy and then you're bad at football. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying sometimes a player's rating or how we rank them is seen higher because of their fantasy value. I would look at Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler is a really good running back, guys. He is a fantastic running back to go draft in your early leagues. And I would even say in the NFL, he's become still a little bit underrated, but his hype when it comes to potentially being a top 3 running back into fantasy has kind of seen him as a higher ranked running back to his peers. And I wouldn't really put that. I would say that Austin Ekeler is a fine running back. I think he's an above average guy, and I think he's really good. But some guys are putting him in the same tier as I would say Alvin Kamara, and I wouldn't do that yet. I wouldn't even put him next to Joe Mixon in my opinion, but that might be a hot take to some people. I say all this because Zeke does not have a great fantasy value because of his position on that team. Tony Pollard is going to get a lot of snaps. He's a young change of pace back. He is really good at his role. But if we look at the stats of the past couple of years, specifically the past 2 years where Zeke's workload has dropped from around 300 carries per season to around 230, 240, it's a significant drop to go to minus 60 carries. And it's probably a good thing. On top of the fantasy value, on top of him getting a lesser workload, he's also an overpaid running back. I'm not naive in that fact. He's an overpaid running back in the NFL. Also, shout out Ghost. If Ghost, you are somehow watching this, please, for the love of God, sponsor me. That's a quick plug. It's the truth. He is wildly overpaid. I mean, he's right there with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey hasn't been on the field. He's also very difficult to rank, and I probably will make a video on him as well. But we look at his peers, right? And I would say he's in this tier. I'm talking about Ezekiel Elliott. He's on the same tier as like a Najee Harris, I would say Javonte Williams, which you might think is discrediting Ezekiel Elliott. I think it's more or less just how good Najee Harris and Javonte Williams were in their rookie season. I think those guys were fantastic, and especially for Najee to have that level of a workload, whether you think it was efficient or not, the dude played fantastic. And Ezekiel Elliott still put over 1,000 yards. He was the 7th leading rusher in the NFL, still averaging about 4+ yards per carry, and he has done that his entire career. When I look at the stats for last year, right, we could look over the past couple years, but specifically last year, no running back in the top 10 got a roughly, or I would say not top 10, I would say out of the 7 guys that got 1,000 yards, Antonio Gibson, Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, and Ezekiel Elliott, Zeke got the least amount of carries other than Nick Chubb. And I have to say other than Nick Chubb because he is the most efficient running back in the NFL, potentially of all time. This dude is averaging 5.5 yards per carry, 228 attempts, and 1,200 yards. Wow. He has an argument to be the best running back in the NFL. And Zeke hit 1,000 yards, obviously way less yards compared to Nick Chubb. And I'm not comparing the two because it's Nick Chubb 10 out of 10 times right now. But I'm saying Zeke still is producing. Not to mention his blocking abilities and his capabilities to impact that, especially with the offensive line with the Cowboys deteriorating over time. I understand the Cowboys are one of the most polarizing teams in the NFL, probably the most talked about team in the NFL, whether you like it or not. And I think that we see these Cowboys stars and try to criticize immediately and not realize that, like, say Ezekiel Elliot was producing like this, I don't know, on the Dolphins. I think he would potentially be on a higher tier. And that's weird for me to say because I'm defending the Cowboys, and that's something that I don't enjoy doing. But I still have to respect Zeke. And I understand Tony Pollard was a baller this past season. He had some great flashes where he really took the reins. And I still think Zeke has shown from time to time that he's able to really carry a workload and impact a game in other ways. I still think Zeke is the lead back for a reason. And he's getting older. It is still a part of Kellen Moore's offense to have running backs rotate, try to keep these guys fresh as possible. And we'll see it this upcoming season when they do not have Amari Cooper, that what can they do? What is the next step? And I apologize if you hear a little bit of background noise. These walls are thin. I believe my roommate is using the restroom right now. You might see Tony Pollard get 5.5 yards per carry and assume that if he got Zeke's workload, he would be able to produce at that same level. I think we have to look at it as he is using his abilities to his advantage. A defense has to play Zeke differently than they have to play Tony Pollard. And that's what makes the Cowboys offense more dynamic. I think they still are going to be a really damn good offense moving into this season, even without Amari Cooper. I think that this team could be really good. Also, shout out Dalton Schultz, an underrated breakout candidate for the tight end position. But I think that, like, we have overcorrected ourselves. Is he overpaid? Yes. But I had an argument with one of the co-panelists saying that if Saquon was healthy, he'd pick Saquon. And in my opinion, I would probably take Zeke still. I would probably take Zeke over guys like, I don't know. Let's look at the list. I would take Zeke over Damian Harris. I would probably take Zeke potentially over Austin Ekeler. I would take Zeke probably over Josh Jacobs. I would take Zeke over Josh Jacobs. I'd take Zeke over Aaron Jones. And if you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. But I'm sitting here saying I still think Zeke is a borderline top 10 running back when I've seen people try to rank him outside the top 20. And it's time that we got to give this kid some respect because he's still producing at a really solid level. And I think if he went back to 300 carries per season, the dude would have fantastic stats. I wouldn't say he leads the league in rushing, but I think he could be in that 1,200 range. I mean, we're talking about 60 less carries. The dude is still really efficient. He's a great blocker. Does he have the same burst that he can consistently hit? No, I don't think so. But I think he still has that burst. It just can't happen as consistently as you would like it. And that is the end of the video today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a sub, leave a like, leave a comment. I love reading y'all's comments. I love responding to them. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'm hitting 1,000 subs by the end of this year. I don't care. End of the summer, this year, it's going to happen. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.